So, I just realized that I did that entire introduction on mute, which is something I haven't done for a while. So, it's been quite
No,
an
I can
interesting.
remind you to use they for me.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes. So Unity Jin has been so supportive over the years. That's who's going to be on our show. I'm Jared. I'm the owner of Jaga Silk. I know I just did this introduction in mute, so I'm going to redo it. And now you can go check us out on jagasilk.com. It's the first of a two-part series. We're going to have Cierra from Unity Jin on today, and then we're going to have Cliff from Folipi on next week. Today we're going to be drinking some gin, some kombucha gin, and we're going to go. We're going to talk through fermentation with Cierra, and Cierra does such a good job. They're really quite the expert on. And here I am going again, even though I had a chance to redo it. I know that Cierra's not going to like to be called an expert, but I think she is. So there you go. Or I think they is. They are. And if you want to come on the line, Cierra, that would be amazing. And we can talk about kombucha and have Sister Speak join us shortly.
Hi, Jared.
Hello, hello. Welcome,
Hey,
welcome, welcome.
thanks for having me on here. This is fun.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry it took so long to get started. It was quite a technical intensity that's been happening recently. I had all my printers stop working yesterday. I had programs stop working. I had all my cameras stop working. It's like, I don't know, something's going on. There's it's been quite challenging past 2 days, I can tell you.
There's
But
probably an astrological reason for it, I
it's
would think.
I would imagine so. Yeah, no, it's been quite interesting. So yeah, looks like we have some viewers joining us. MA says yay, which is great. And then we have we generally have viewers from all over the place, so it should be interesting. And MA says that whoa, Cierra has funny or furry ears. Yes, you do. Yes, I need a pair. It would be so apropos for Jaga Silk, right? Like, it would make
It
so much
does look
sense.
good
Yeah,
on you.
yeah. You want to
Yeah,
talk?
my 5-year-old and I got into wearing them lately. It's pretty fun.
You need a tail. Do you have a tail?
I don't, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Yep.
it needs to happen.
That's
Um,
the next step.
that's the next step, taking it to the next level. Do you want to
Yeah.
talk a little bit about Unity Jun, Sierra, and what your project looks like, and what what the dream has in store for you in terms of the Unity Jun project and fermentation?
Sure. I'll show you what our beautiful bottles look like.
Beautiful. Yes.
Unity Gum is a probiotic honey elixir that we ferment in Victoria, and we infuse it with all organic herbs and spices to create different flavors that all have a different wellness intention.
Nice.
And so I really don't skimp on the herbs when I make these flavors. The idea is to have a meaningful dosage of
Right. Right.
herbal
Right.
when you take these. So each flavor is made to help you feel a certain way, or to deal with something that's going on in life.
Cool. Okay, that's awesome. So as an example, what do we got here? Looks like I'm missing my ferments. Just give me one sec. That's really funny. I set up some bottles, your bottles, actually, on my counter with some cups to share with Sister Speak, who's actually in Nootka Court. And both the cups and both bottles have disappeared. But you, so and she was on the call and now she's not. So it's quite interesting to see how today goes. Okay, well I have a couple others. These are not the ones that we were gonna be really focused on today. We wanted to talk about, I think, the purple one, which has got me excited. But
Yeah.
you want to
Well,
talk a little bit about this grassroots?
yeah, let's talk about that.
Okay.
So I'd love to share something I've learned recently about drinking cold fermented beverages in the winter.
Okay.
Uh, I recently started having some kind of trouble in my body. I don't know what it is yet, but my friend who is a Chinese medicine doctor has diagnosed me with a kind of a dampness,
Okay.
uh, a dampness accumulation. And he's told me that people who have trouble with dampness accumulation
Mm-hmm.
had better not drink these when they're really cold in the winter. So
Oh,
I've been
interesting.
letting my Jun come to room temperature lately before I drink it. And another thing that makes them healthier in the winter is to drink a flavor that has warming herbs and spices in it. That's why I brought
Makes
you
sense.
the
Yeah, yeah.
bottle today.
Okay. Like on a flavor note, I've always been a big fan of you people chill their white wine. I don't like to. I love tea that's not super piping hot. I think that the closer to room temperature, the more of those sort of more intricate flavor molecules we're able to pick up on, and we're able to taste more interesting flavors. So there's like a warming element, and like some teas are warming, some are cooling, but most spices are fairly warming from a Chinese medicine perspective. But it's interesting about drinking close to room temperature. Even like I like a beer here and there. I never drink to get drunk. I hate the feeling of intoxication, but I do like flavor, and sometimes I'll have a beer. And when I do, I like it not to be super chilled. I think that you just taste so much more. So that's really interesting. Um,
Hmm.
you know, wonder where did feel like I have some really helpful crew members, and they can often be amazing. But every once in a while, if there's something out on the bar, it gets put away on me. So I wonder if that's what happened. Yeah, interesting.
Imagine that, somebody putting something away where it goes.
Who knew? Who knew? You want to actually tell our viewers just where they can find you online? I'm just going to grab some more
Yeah.
bottles because I don't have them now. Okay?
Okay, sure. Yeah, our website online is Unity June. That's Unity Unity, like on our bottle. Don't know if you can read that. Jun JUN .com. So it's really easy to find us online. We're also on Instagram. You can find Unity Jun on Instagram. And our Facebook is not as good as a presence, but we also have a Facebook page also called Unity Jun. And this bottle that I'm holding in my hand, since Jared's still looking for stuff, I might as well tell you about this flavor we
Yes.
call
And
Happy
you can
Love.
pour yourself a cup of it.
And it's
Though.
got
That's cool.
chandra berry in it with some goji and rose and vanilla. And this is meant to be a little bit of a mood booster. So on those kind of days, I like to take a little bit of this one.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah,
So you probably
the one.
explain stuff to the crowd.
Yeah.
What are we? What that red one? Is that a different one?
Yeah, no, this is the Happy Love. I was just saying this is the one that's kind of mood boosting.
Nice.
I just started talking about it because it was in my hand.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, and this is the one little kids like a lot too. So for people who are new to trying out fermented beverages, it can be a good place to start because the vanilla and the berry flavor in here just makes it really accessible.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So, we often talk about just the different approaches that we take to fermentation, right? Like there's it's so interesting. Like from a alcohol perspective, the idea of flavoring the ferment is often referred to as a shrub, and I find that this kind of herbal concoction is so fascinating to me. But I'm such a minimalist. I love to just understand the raw canvas and kind of work from there. So I really enjoy that, but I really enjoy what you're doing as well. Like whenever I go to a supermarket and I see Unity Gin on the shelf, I think it's so interesting to try out what's able to be produced. So, oh, amazing! She can keep that one. That one's fine. I just needed. I only have one of these, so awesome. Cool. We got Blooniverse back.
Yay!
Holographic Blooniverse. That's what happened. There was a misunderstanding. That's what I thought. I was like, where are my bottles? They were gone, but they've been recovered. So just so the audience can see this is what Unity Gin is doing, and then that's your camera there, Cierra, but the audience sees this, and then
Okay.
and then this is more what Jaga Silk's doing. So we're like our approach is to focus on that tea because we're a tea company, right? So it makes sense that we want to say. I think our idea was, like let's see what happens if instead of using, it's really normal in kombucha and jun preparations to use really low cost teas, right?
Yeah.
And to use such low cost teas that it's actually a flavor that you end up wanting to mask rather than highlight, right? So it's interesting
Yeah.
to to kind of say, hey, I wanna have a conversation about the tea. But before we get too deep into it, a lovely conversation I also like to have is this perspective on kombucha versus jun, and there's this mythological story I'm not super convinced on, but I wanted to hear your take on it. So like, what is it that makes a jun different from kombucha?
Oh yeah, I'm happy to talk about that, Jared.
Sister
Oh
speak.
my God.
Sister speak, are you there?
Hi, yeah.
You're really loud. Are you okay?
Really?
That's like
Yeah, I'm just, the flies are all attacking the bucha up here.
Oh no. Okay, you were like groaning. Your groan was the entrance to the show. That was pretty funny. Yeah, exactly. That was it. That was hello, Cierra. This is I know you just met Sharianne a little bit ago, but that is her introduction to the show.
Sorry.
That was awesome.
It freaked me out.
Yeah.
Hi, Sharianne.
Hi. Is my camera angle?
You're sideways
correct?
for some reason. You probably don't have
change it.
the rotation isn't working. So good. I think we lost her again.
So we were about to talk about Jun.
Now I'm upside down.
Sharianne. So we're talking about the difference between jun and kombucha. So so we're gonna have a little bit of a conversation about that. So if you wanna. So Cierra, you were saying?
Yeah, I was saying that I'm really happy to talk about jun and kombucha because there is that mysteriousness. Some people think that jun is just kombucha brewed with honey, and some people think it's a separate culture and they have these separate origins.
Right.
And what I have found, I mean, I brewed kombucha for like 6 years before I started brewing jun.
Right.
And I find the way that the jun SCOBY responds to what you give it is just so different from how a kombucha SCOBY responds. I mean, it also looks different. It's active at different temperatures.
Right.
There's just so much different about it. And I really do believe the theory that because there wasn't sugarcane up in the mountains, they continued using honey.
Right.
And that jun still uses honey to this day. And that's why you have a different type of SCOBY that we call jun than the one we call kombucha. It's like evolution on not a very long time scale.
Right.
But those microorganisms, their generations go by really quickly, so we shouldn't be surprised that we get different results.
Totally.
Kombucha flat, white, and pancake-like. A jun SCOBY is gooey and goobery and gloopy.
Right.
And and the jun SCOBY, because the honey has so many different types of sugars that it breaks down into,
yes.
I think it's quite reasonable to suspect that we have a different range of probiotic microorganisms in the jun SCOBY because there is a greater diversity of food sources to feed them. So it's like a spectrum of organisms living together, and it's a different spectrum in jun than in kombucha.
And I love this conversation because my take on it is that, like, I use a jun SCOBY. I only feed my ferments honey. But I find that the type of SCOBY that forms seems to be really related to the tea that I use. So when I use a parched green, I get something that's a little bit more gloopy. But when I use like an oolong, I really love using like Wuyi Mountain oolongs or roasted oolongs. And then I find that those actually form a fairly kombucha-like puck or pancake. And I find that that when I'm working with, for example, like a pu'er, or like a dark tea, it seems to have a different effect again. Like the way that the carbon dioxide is released and trapped in the liquid is really seems to interact a lot more with that. And then I also find that my SCOBY is so different from, so-and-so's SCOBY and so different from so-and-so's SCOBY. And I think that there's just each one of them seems to be their own unique living being, and I feel almost like kombucha, jun, it's a little bit of a misnomer. Like each one of these unique symbiotic communities of bacteria and yeast should almost have their own name, right? Like, because they just provide such different things, and then there's also the idea that you can since they recreate themselves every ferment, you can also kind of guide that family tree in the direction that you want to go. Like there's a really interesting book on fermentation by the Noma restaurant in Denmark. I hope I'm getting that name correct. And it's one of the best I've ever read. And it talks about like getting the SCOBY used to garlic. And garlic is very antimicrobial. So you'd think like, wow, garlic, that's going to kill it. But you know, the trick is to give it what it doesn't like one batch, and then give it something it loves the second batch, and then it doesn't like for 2 batches, and then something it loves for a batch. And it's kind of like a gentle transition period. And you can generally turn a kombucha SCOBY into a Jun SCOBY or vice versa, where you can switch up the sugar source as long as you're really careful about that guidance. And if Jun is defined by its ability to break down honey and more complex sugars, right? Then I think what happens with kombucha SCOBYs is that they just get so addicted to that white sugar that that's all they know how to break down. And you try and give them something else, and they're just like, not happening. I'm not eating this. And it's such a weak fermentation that it eventually dies. So it's about it's like
if it's only eating one kind of sugar, then yeah, like that. Why would there be diversity? It's kind of weakening the culture, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I have cats, right? So speaking of cat ears, love the cat ears again. I don't know if when you came on the show, I don't know if it was audioable because the mic was off for the beginning. I think it was when we were discussing the furry ears. I believe but I have cats, and my older cats that I only fed one type of food their whole life are way less likely to enjoy different foods. Whereas when I give a variety of foods to my younger cat, he's going to be, or they're going to be pretty open-minded, right? So I think human beings are like this, cats are like this, and I think SCOBYs are like this. So during their lifespan, if you switch it up and you give them lots of different things, different teas, different sugars to break down, I think they become a little bit more dexterous in their being, and I find that so interesting, you know?
I agree with you, Jared. It's like evolution, and it's like neuroplasticity. You subject it to conditions, and that which survives those conditions continues.
Exactly. And sometimes we go in a direction we don't like, right? Recently, my SCOBY the growth started to slow down enormously, and so I've been trying to encourage it to go back to a more dependable growth pattern, so that I can better utilize it for the company. And I don't want to force the issue, so it's I'm trying to be gentle, and so we do this gentle encouragement. And how we've done that is we just introduce a little bit of SCOBY that we've saved from like a much older batch, and we try and bring in that bacteria and that yeast so that it can contribute its perspective on fermentation to the new community of bacteria and yeast, and they can kind of share their ideas, and they can build a better future together, you know?
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah. This community.
That's beautiful.
So
Our motto is culturing healthy communities, because it is like that. It's like the probiotics working together to create what you're fermenting in the first place, and then they get into your body and they create healthy community in your gut. And as you become healthy and you share these practices, they spread outwards into society, and you create a healthier society.
Right.
And we have these conversations and have more friends, and everybody just has a better time.
Isn't SCOBY growth like so symbolic?
Yes.
I just love it. Like I feel like fermentation in general just seems to be such an exciting process to be a part of. To be like I don't feel like I am like the creator, but I feel like I'm kind of part of the process, and then I can kind of steer things in a direction, but it often doesn't go the direction I want it to go, but it will go in its own direction regardless of what I do. But it's interesting to learn these different parameters that goes. Anyway, I'm going off on another tangent, but I think it's so fascinating to be a part of this process. And anyway, to sum it all up, if only humans were SCOBYs, we'd have world peace. It'd be amazing.
Yeah.
That's my end of the long. why don't we drink some? So do you want? Why don't we start with this one? This holographic Bluniverse that you put out,
Okay.
and you want to talk to us a little bit about it, and then I'll talk to you about the Hojicha Yabukita that
Yeah.
you
Oh
were
man,
saying.
I've got my eye on that. I can't wait to drink that after. My goodness.
So I'm gonna pour this in front of the camera. I love the colors you come away with. So look at that. Audience.
Yeah. How did you get this
Ooh,
purple?
Yeah.
The
Look at
purple is great, isn't it? I'm really proud of the color actually,
It's
because
awesome.
I had to get the right amount of butterfly pea flower, which in this acidic beverage becomes a really flaming purple, like a fuchsia-ish flaming purple. And then
Wow.
we had the E3 Live Blue Magic, which is it's a type of it's basically a type of spirulina extract. Then it mixes into this complex sort of indigo-ish, purple-ish color. And of course, I love that the E3 Live Blue Magic settles out a bit. So then
Yeah.
when you turn it over, it just becomes like a bluer blue. It's kind of fun.
Whoa.
Which is what I'm supposed to do. I'm gonna. Can I steal a lid from this? Because I think Cheyenne has my lid. So
I do have your lid. Do you want to?
it's all good. It's all good. I stole a lid. So am I allowed to do this, Cierra? Can I flip it now and kind of?
Yeah. Do it.
Okay.
See the color change.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, I see that. That's going like super blue now. Okay, let's pour that into a glass. Okay, audience, you ready for this? That is like super like
So good.
amazing sky blue, like a painting of a sky. Look at those two glasses side by side. I don't know if you can see that. And that's you guys. Look at that. Isn't that cool?
Looks
Oh
good.
yeah. Whoa.
Yeah, very cool. Probably different flavors too. Okay, this acid, and I always find butterfly pea flower has this like kind of potato-like flavor,
Yes.
you know, and it's like got a good color, but I don't really understand the flavor. I get it from a health perspective, but you've managed to pull off a pretty yummy tasting tea. You know, I think it's the color makes me think of blueberries. I don't think there is actually blue. What do you taste?
Who, me or
Yeah.
Sister?
Both of you guys.
I taste ruby red grapefruit.
Yeah. Grapefruit. I can go with that. Yeah, something citrusy. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
And then there's like a salt. Do you have lavender in this?
Yeah, there's lavender in it. Yep.
Okay.
And there's chamomile.
Mm-hmm.
It's the chamomile.
Wow.
Once I mention it. And this I
Oh
would
yeah,
say
yeah.
is like my weirdest flavor because it doesn't really taste like its ingredients very much because it's also got clove in it.
Oh,
And-
clove. Yeah. Is there cloves in this? That makes sense.
Ah.
There's a little bit of peppermint, which just lifts it up a bit
Yeah.
without tasting like a candy cane.
Yeah, I like that peppermint.
You know, of course, I put Tulsi in it.
Yeah. Of course, you have to.
Yeah.
You want to talk? There's two things. This is kind of a base of all of your Unity gens. Do you want to talk a little bit about the tea? Like, let's talk about why Longjing? You know, and I don't want to tote my own horn or anything, but I'd love you to talk about why you would choose to work with us for your Longjing.
Yes. Well, I mean, there's kind of two parts of why Longjing. One is why Longjing in the first place, and then why do we insist on getting our Longjing from you? Those are two related issues. There's two reasons why we prefer the Longjing tea, and one is purely sentimental. I lived in China for most of my 20s, and the first time I saw tea plants growing was in Longjing, which means Dragon Well. It's the name of a village called Dragon Well, where they have this ancient well that's I forget how old it is. It's so old, and the stones of the well are just carved with where ropes have come up over time. And my first time drinking Longjing tea, I was standing at that well and looking out over the misty rows of tea. Oh my goodness, it was such a beautiful experience. And so I have a real connection to that tea.
It's like a sentimental,
as you know, I know
warm,
I've told
fuzzy.
you that before.
Yeah, you have.
And
yeah. You've
and there's
actually had Longjing, which means dragon well, made with water
Yeah.
that was sourced from the dragon well, right?
from the Dragon Well
Yeah.
in Dragon Well.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's
Shihu,
right.
right? West,
Yeah.
Westlake. Yeah.
Yeah, Westlake, correct. Yeah, Sihu, and they have Westlake is a wonderful place. They have really amazing food there. Like the food, I won't go on about it. That's a whole
Yeah,
other
no,
topic.
no, that's great. Okay.
But there's a huge range in quality of Longjing tea when you buy it in Canada. Also in China, but in Canada especially, because you get the really stale stuff, you get the
Yeah.
ancient stuff, you get the stuff that they sent away from China, I guess.
The sweet
So
things that nobody will drink.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I really appreciate working with somebody who knows his tea. That's you, Jared, to get good quality Longjing.
We're
And
trying.
every year, well, Jared brings me different samples every year so that I can try and choose which one I want.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like that's one of my favorite things about my job working with Unity Gen actually is because I love tea so much, and having the chance to like just choose my favorite type of my favorite tea.
Right.
Wonderful.
It's like a-
And then the other reason why we use Longjing tea is because we really like I really love the the flavor that Jun made with Longjing tea
right.
comes out with as a base for the herbal flavors that I create. I
That makes
find
sense.
it very easy to work with base, and it's just so good. And I swear that the Jun loves Longjing tea. I think it has the same favorite tea that I do. But Jared, you make delicious Jun with all kinds of different teas.
Yeah,
So you might not agree.
we try, but we found that I actually have a huge respect for you with your green tea ferments, because honestly, I haven't been able to make it work for my SCOBY. I use green tea, and maybe it's because I'm using Japanese greens, and greens from Japan often have a little bit more nitrogen. SCOBYs love the nitrogen, and the fermentations become so aggressive, and they become so fast that the puck is essentially falling apart in my hands. It's not forming into anything that has any substance, and I just have this really challenging time creating something that I feel is like that feels like a full fermentation. And so
Interesting.
it's probably because I'm using too much tea, and if I used less of that particular one, if I changed up my recipe, so I do need to just do some more experiments. Another thing is maybe the ratio to honey might be different. My particular recipe, I think, just really likes teas that are withered. Because the difference between a green tea for our audience, the green tea and oolongs to crimson teas is essentially just enzymatic oxidation. We've covered this in previous episodes, but it's the PPO enzyme, propyl oxidase, will oxidase the leaves and turn them brown. And so to have them nice and withered, you get into the world of dark oolongs and crimson teas, which is what I love to use. And so my recipe seems to really enjoy that. But we're also using the same honey, right? Are you still buying from our friends over at Frederick's?
At Frederick's, absolutely.
Yeah, and you introduced them to us, so a huge appreciation
Cool.
for that. I am so happy with that. And we've had a chance to work with them to get some single yard honey that we produced for Jaga Silk, where we had the longitude and latitude coordinates of the hives on the honey jar. They're so interested. We've gone out into the mountains with them and visited quite a number of times and tried to build some different projects with them. So a huge appreciation for that introduction, Cierra.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah, for sure.
pretty rad. So, but the SCOBY is going to interact differently with different honeys too, isn't it? So
Yeah, oh, it does. When
Yeah.
we first started working with Fredericks, we tried to settle on a type of honey to use, and honestly, my favorite honey was to make Jun with. Like the Jun loved it and went crazy. It was their blackberry honey,
Their
but
blackberry honey.
they never make enough of it, and it's too expensive, and I couldn't just make that the thing. But
Oh.
it's available every fall, and you bet I'm going to get my hands on some just for my personal private use.
Totally. And it's interesting. What I found is that different times of year. So when we're doing our fermentation, we like to use a Brix measuring tool, right? You can get them online. They're like $100, so they're not cheap, but they're not crazy, right? So, and they let you see your residual sugars. So if you have a Brix of like 5, that's 5 grams of sugar per 100 mils that's remaining in the liquid. It's generally broken down sugar because of the fermentation, but that's what's there. And it's also helps you make sure that you're not creating an overly zealous bottle that might get a little bit explosive or foamy. if you're not careful. So we do it for a number of reasons. We measure it, but what we've noticed is that different honeys have different residual sugar levels in them as well. Because most honey, you'd assume it would be like, 80% sugars and 20% water. That's the norm, right? That's how honey normally works. But it's not that simple, because the little critters, the little bees, aren't going to be like using a Brix monitor in their hive to see what the residual sugars are. They're gonna do it to the best of their ability, and each hive is gonna have a different ability, and different seasons are gonna have different colony numbers, etc. So they're gonna produce a slight variation to the product. So even if we're weighing everything, which we are, doesn't mean that we're getting something super consistent every time. So we've noticed different times of year create different starting points. So I can see how blackberry honey, for example, is a particular time of year. I wonder if that time of year plays a huge role. I mean, the flavor, obviously, but that time of year might have a more concentrated sugar level in the honey, and therefore the SCOBY just goes to town on it and loves it,
That's really interesting. I believe the sugar level in the honey is affected by how long the honey has been out of the hive. Like, it becomes more concentrated as water evaporates from it.
Makes sense.
As well. So that's also a factor.
Yeah, the combination of those two things, right?
Yeah, and of course at different times of year the bees are feeding on different flowers, right? So
yeah, no.
And didn't you actually get hives from? You see how excited I am to drink your gin?
Okay, we're almost there. Yes.
Didn't you get hives from Frederick's, like, put at your house or something, Jared?
Yes. We lost them over this last winter, but they survived one winter for us. They even, it was awesome. We got, talk about single yard honey. We got it out of our own yard, and that was so awesome. And to go through that process of harvesting the honey and taking care of the bees, and my wife was so, like, careful with the bees. Like, when they were cold and they'd land and they'd hit water, she'd go and rescue them and bring them inside and put them in a jar with a little lid on it, and give them sugar and nurse them back to health and then release them back. It was the sweetest, most awesome thing. But we're not meant to be beekeepers, because we feel even bad taking a little bit of honey. We're feeding them sugar, but it's like, this is their honey, but they produce so much, and if they produce often so much that the hive will split, right? And
wow.
So, like, not the hive itself will split in half, but like the colony will split, and you'll have them leave. And that's related to a number of factors, but one of those factors is a very successful honey production in a small space. So removing the honey actually helps to keep them in one place, which is helpful.
Yeah.
And we really enjoyed that process, but it was really sad to lose them this year. So I don't know if we'd do it again. It was kind of sad. You kind of get really connected to them, and you're like, really? You had to die? Oh, and they died in like a big, they're like, you could tell I think it was cold. I think it was the winter was just a little bit too much. But anyways, the Fredericks have been amazing for introducing them to us. They brought and installed that hive, and then we managed it, and 2 years, almost successfully 3 years. So it's pretty fun.
Wow.
Yeah. I do have a dream though. Honey, tea, all Vancouver Island, make my own kombucha. That would be so amazing. One of these.
Yeah, where do the bees go in the winter?
They hang out in the hive. Yeah, they go into like kind of a hibernation. A hibernation.
A hibernation. And do you know if there's a difference in sugar level between creamed honey and the more liquid honey?
It's gonna have more to do with, like, that's just air. You introduce air, and you're gonna have more air. That means that if you're just looking at the same volume, if you look at the actual gram weight of creamed honey in a similar volume container to liquid honey, you'll have less, right? Because there's more air. So per teaspoon, it will be less sugar because there's more air. But that being said, if you cream honey that's lost a lot of its moisture already, then you could make up the difference, right?
True.
It's all about moisture content versus sugar content, and that's what's going to give your concentration of sugar. And it's going to change. Even when you look at the back of a honey jar, you think that's super consistent, but it's not. It's just like kind of a dart in the dark, just hoping that you've hit the middle of what it likely is, but it's going to change from jar to jar, batch to batch, season to season. You guys ready for this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this this is our kombucha, so we haven't
Yeah.
added anything. And I before I moved on, I did want to say like cheers, amazing, super
Prost.
excited. I now that you told me cloves though, like this is very clove heavy, in a good way. It's like I can see why you chose it for this season because it is very warming, even though it looks very cooling. So cheers to you, Cierra.
Thanks, Jared. I'm glad you liked it.
Cheers. Yes.
So
Did you like
It was. I loved it.
sorry,
I'm
what was
so
that? Well, you had another question?
Oh no, I just asked your sister if she liked it too, and she said she loved it.
Ah, yes. Sherry-Ann, I feel like I've not introduced you properly this episode.
That's okay. It's been a long day.
It's been an interesting one, so I'm going to just take a moment and do that. So we were outside before this show. We were working on, while Sherry-Ann was doing her show, and I don't normally sit in so much on them. I would love to, but this time I felt like I should. There was a fellow who was smoking, drinking, and trying to rescue wasps off the window and stinging himself. So he wasn't like a violent person, but it did seem like it would be good to kind of hang around a little bit. So did that, and Sherry-Ann is like a trooper. You can tell she's used to this kind of stuff. She's toured the world. Used to do like 200 shows plus a year before the pandemic. 3 studio albums. Sister Speak Music. Audience, anybody watching, go to sisterspeakmusic.com or go to patreon.com/sisterspeak. Check out what she's up to. She's also coordinating with Jaga Silk Music through her label Resonation that she runs. The Outdoor Music Fridays at Jaga Silk. So yeah, excited to have her on the show every week. She joins us for Jaga Silk, JagaVision. So yeah, welcome Sherry-Ann, and that's my proper introduction of you to Cierra. Cierra, Sherry-Ann, Cierra.
Hi, Cierra. Nice to meet you virtually now.
Yeah, hi, Sherry-Ann. Nice to meet you too.
So it's the rush. I think Cierra was here earlier. We were switching bottles with each other, so we could both have the ferments for today's show, and there was a chance for them to briefly meet. But there you go. So, cheers, guys.
Cheers, and please forgive my entry.
Oh, the groan. That was awesome. It was like the most epic entry ever. Just, oh.
It was
Anyways.
like in a monster movie. It just seemed really scary.
I think that like something happened with the audio. Like I don't think I really sound like that.
No, it was great. I think it dragged on because of the Wi-Fi connection. So you weren't only like, oh, you were like, oh. It was awesome.
All I did was go, oh.
Oh, really? That's great.
Because there was a fly trying to attack me.
Oh, it was amazing. It was amazing. Okay. So feel free to jump in like you always do too and ask any questions you want, Sherry-Ann. I'm sorry if I'm not as inclusive as I like to be. And same with you, Cierra. Seriously, I'm so terrible at going on tangents. If I'm saying weird stuff that doesn't make any sense,
We're like
please cut me off.
aching to drink.
Cut me off and just like.
Let's drink.
Yeah, let's drink. Okay, all right. So.
Drink. Kombucha.
Time.
Okay, opened. Look at that. Okay, I heard carbonation, and this is our Hojicha Yabukita. So if you look at the bottle, there's a 10-day extraction, 15-day ferment. So a little bit about our process for the audience. We do a really long cold brew. So when you cold brew, you're more likely to have keep the fruit and the floral elements of the kombucha. And we also use a pH meter. We like to keep it at 3.8, 3.9, and then we like a Brix around 6 or 7. And then we find that gives us a really nice ferment. But then depending on the tea, we switch it up. We add or decrease the fermentation days to achieve these particular results. And I think that what the end process has been is a real huge focus on that tea flavor. And I think it comes through. I think you can taste the hojicha, that roasted tea. So let me know what you think there.
Yeah.
Cierra and Sherry-Ann.
This is blowing my mind. I'm sorry. This is so good.
Awesome. Cool.
It's insane. I think I might have said this before for another one of your gens that you made, your specialty, but I think this is like the best kombucha I've like ever tasted.
Oh, you're so sweet. That's awesome. Thank you. It's
Oh.
that means a lot. Thank you, Sarah.
Hoji cha was like I haven't drank hoji cha like for tea in ages, but I used to be addicted to it. It was like the first type of green tea that I got turned on to as a young person growing up in a black tea drinking family.
Okay.
And it really does come through in your jun. It's so good.
Cool. Yeah. I was it's hard too because of course, as you well know, jun and kombucha fermentations are done in an aerobic environment. So we are allowing oxygen to interact with the liquid, and the result is that there's an opportunity for those beautiful flavor compounds, those volatile oils, to oxidize. And when that happens, there's a transformation that occurs, and oftentimes you lose the complexity of flavor that you would otherwise have from the tea. So our hope is, and I think that it's kind of coming through in some teas and less so in others, is that through this cold extraction, they're less volatile. They haven't been sort of exuded into the air before they even had a chance to go through the fermentation process. And the loss that we do experience is a result of that fermentation rather than the result of a hot extraction, right? So.
Yeah, I think you got a great process going on because it really does come across. It's so good. That cold brew that you're doing.
Nice.
I love how scientific you are.
Yeah.
We like to bring an empirical approach to it because it's just, I believe that science is an art, right? And and that art is science. And I think that if you utilize tools that are given to us through science, we can achieve more consistent results through our processes, right? Like I weigh the water that goes into each 150 liter ferment on a scale. we go over the top. We probably don't need to do that because of. But I love that we do.
The precision.
Sorry, what was that, Cierra?
I just said it's so cool. Like I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum for that. Like I decide everything. I just like taste it, right?
Yeah,
and
which is,
you have everything just so like laid out like specifically. Like you have the weight of the water. Like I never weigh my water. I measure my water approximately in a give or take kind of way.
Which probably just because I weigh my water doesn't mean that it makes it a more consistent brew. Because again, I have wildly different fermentation times. I find really, if I can do one thing for consistency of my fermentations, it's keeping the fermentation room at 20 degrees centigrade. When I go higher and lower, it has a massive impact on everything. So these consistent brewing room temperatures are probably the best tool for a consistent fermentation that I've been able to find.
That makes sense to me. I've never had access to consistent temperature in my fermentation room.
Yeah.
And changes in temperature absolutely are the thing that confuses the Gen Scoby the most.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. It's not something I ever had trouble with kombucha, though. I don't think kombucha cares what temperature it is.
I would argue that that's probably SCOBY specific.
Yes.
There's probably kombucha SCOBYs out there that are very sensitive to temperature changes, and those that are less so.
Yes.
And it's also probably what we do for them. If we while they're kind of in their lifespan, we kind of give them lots of opportunity to have lots of different temperatures all the time, then maybe they get more used to it. But it sure throws the process off in terms of understanding how much product we'll have and when for running a business, right?
Yep.
And customers are like, I want kombucha and it's not ready yet, I'm sorry. But it's, I think it's worth the wait, because if we're careful and we brew with this frame of mind, and I know that you are careful with always producing a ferment that you're proud of. You're one of those brewers that's not going to let a ferment out, not going to say it's done until it's done, right? Yeah. And I have huge respect for that. With tea too, Cierra, Sherry-Ann, there's this perspective on brewing tea where, you see people in Chinese tea ceremony, for example, doing gongfu style. They're eyeballing the tea weight. They're eyeballing the water volume. They're kind of feeling the kettle for the temperature, the right temperature, or like seeing the way that the sound the water makes when it hits the tea as it's pouring out, because different temperatures of water will have different sounds. and interact with the tea differently. And so to have that sort of sensory ability to be very intuitive with your tea making processes, some of the best tea I've ever had in my life have been made in these sorts of situations. Somebody who has like 2 or 3 decades of experience making me a tea without measuring a single thing. But I, as a wholesaler of tea, I really I appreciate being able to give people a recipe that is derived from an intuitive process. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah. Then your customers can have just the greatest quality cup of tea in their own house and just do it themselves. They don't have to spend decades cultivating their.
But it is a starting point because everybody's gonna have different water. They're gonna have different, different brewing vessels. So there is gonna be things that are gonna impact it, so that it might not be exactly the way that I've made it. But it's a starting point, right? And that's nice to have. And so that's actually the way I look at it. Our recipe for fermentation, when we start, we've been adjusting it over the years, and it couldn't have happened without the intention and foundational work of Jared Varani, our first master brewer.
Jared Varani.
Yeah, and he was a biochemistry student, I believe, a microbiology student. I can't quite remember. And he brought that perspective, that science perspective, and I think he connected with JagaSilk because of our empirical approach to tea making. Yeah, and we were able
I have a question.
What's up?
So every time I take a sip, it's like so heavenly, right?
Cool. Okay.
So I'm curious, do you think that the love for your precision or your love for the actual SCOBY and the tea transferred into the cup?
Well, like a good cook that doesn't have any love for what they're doing, I don't think they're able to produce a good tasting meal. I think that even if this is my personal belief, this would be kind of like perhaps not scientifically provable, but I believe placebo to play a major role in enjoyment of flavors and textures, etc. So I think that if you can tell that somebody really is enthusiastic about what they're doing, and then you have product from that person, or like be it a meal from somebody who really loves to cook, be it a tea from somebody that really wants to make you that tea, you're gonna taste that intention. I really strongly believe that.
I felt that with the purple one too. I felt really like fun.
Yeah, Cierra is loads of fun.
I love the ruby grapefruit kind of brought me back to childhood when I'd have like ruby red grapefruit juice lemonade.
Nice. Nice.
And it was so delicious at the lavender. And that's interesting because they both have such a wonderful feeling of drinking them, and they both kind of give a different feeling at the same time. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
With each sip is like, I think there's like a different emotion that comes with it when I drink it.
That's how I feel too.
Totally. Yeah. It's a personality, but it's also an energy that's going to obviously be different from bottle to bottle, ferment to ferment, brewer to brewer, right?
I have heard the term vibes used to describe this phenomenon.
There you go.
Vibes.
Yeah. Lovin said vibes. Yes.
The vibes.
Vibes. Jared, your hojicha vibes here.
Yeah.
There's like a malt vibe. I think it's the roastedness of the hojicha coming through. It almost has like a malt kind of flavor.
Yeah, that Maillard reaction, that roasty, almost toasted sugar flavor, right? Like for sure. Yeah. We often put tasting notes of cinnamon and cashew for the hot version of this tea. And I don't know if that's coming through so much as that roasty quality, that kind of like cooked, well, I guess you could say like a lightly cooked cashew. If you've ever fried up some cashews without oil, so I just toast it up.
Yeah.
There's that.
Yeah, it actually does. Yeah, I do taste that. Yeah.
A slight tasting note of nutty waffles.
Yeah, nice. Or candy canes, like often, not candy canes, cotton candy,
A little bit.
Yeah. You can often find that in some nicely toasted teas.
Because of the caramelized sugars?
Yes, yeah, right, because that's part of that process. So for our viewers, a hojicha is a roasted Japanese green tea. You take mature leaf pick, bancha, that's harvested generally after you've picked the flush or the young leaves. And then you take those leaves, you steam them like you would a sencha, and then you have the raw product, which is called arabancha or raw bancha. And then you would separate out the parts of the leaves that you're not going to use for the end process, and you would just cook those in a finish firing unit that looks kind of like a coffee roaster. But a traditional hojicha maker, they have ones that are specifically for hojicha as well, and they get it to a hotter temperature than the ones you would use for making sencha, etc. Some people make hojicha in a sencha finish firing unit. But the best stuff that I've tasted so far, anyways, in my time, is been from these units that are meant for hojicha, and it's like a deeper, more cinnamony like roast, and it brings out these really interesting malty, toasted cashew cinnamon flavors for sure. Yeah, it's really yummy. You have another one here, Cierra. This is the grassroots.
Yes, that's a really good one for this time of year.
Okay. You wanna, Cherianne, I know you're outside in the courtyard. Do you want to run in and grab a cup of this as well?
Have some.
Sure, I'll be right there.
Okay, awesome. I'm just gonna pour her a glass, but I'll show the audience too. So should I be? That color. Yeah, we're hearing.
I don't see you, Jared. I actually don't see you on your camera.
I know. You know what happened is three times now my Hangouts camera has disconnected.
Oh.
And I've sort of given up on giving you guys video of me, but I think it might be because it's touching the power button. That would probably play a role, wouldn't it?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that would play a role. Okay, I might be able to make it happen. Give me a second. Maybe I can hear you. You want to talk to our audience a little bit about what this particular selection is about?
Yeah, sure. So the grassroots flavor, we call it grassroots because it has lemongrass in it, and it has roots in it, turmeric and ginger.
Nice.
The main flavor is the turmeric.
Okay.
The lemongrass is also very strong. The ginger is also really high up there, and then we've put in cardamom, cinnamon, and a little black pepper to activate the turmeric.
Okay.
Of course, the anti-inflammatory powers of turmeric are much greater when it's been activated with black pepper. So with those warming spices in there, along with the turmeric, it's both anti-inflammatory, which is really good for your joints and your muscles at this time of year. It's also good if you catch a cold. Nobody wants to catch anything this year.
No.
But
No, we don't.
If you do, it's helpful, and I recommend turmeric. So our flavor grassroots has got a lot of turmeric in it, and it's got warming spices too. So it's going to keep your body warm, and
good for your heart too. The turmeric, like really nice for your blood flow, and tonifier. Really good for cleaning your system.
Yes.
I'm a big fan of turmeric. Or turmeric?
Yeah.
How am I supposed to pronounce this? Is it tomato, or is there a proper pronunciation of the root?
I'm sure the proper pronunciation is in a different language than English. So I guess we just do the best we can.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point.
I mean, same goes for Jun.
Yeah, no doubt, hey?
Is it June? Is it Jun?
And another reason why I call it Kombucha Jun on my bottle is because although I'm using technically a Jun SCOBY, at least that's what I when I accessed it for the company, or when Jared Virani accessed it for the company, it was identified as a Jun SCOBY. But since then, we haven't strictly followed the honey and green tea protocol. We've actually found that sometimes you can make a really nice tasting kombucha Jun without even using tea.
Yeah, you were telling me about that.
Yeah, it seems to be that.
As a tea seller, you might want to keep quiet about that.
Well, because I mean, fermentation requires sugar and yeast, and then the bacteria are going to provide a more acidic environment so that there's less opportunity for mold spores, etc., to grow, especially when it gets acidic enough. So it's interesting that you can do that, but you don't get the same flavor structure at all. We've done some experiments where we start the ferment without adding the tea at first. We just let it, like we feel that that's kind of a way for it to reset itself and to have like a clean fermentation start, and then teas that it has a little bit more trouble fermenting, you can add kind of on day 3 instead of on day 1. It's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Cheers. So again, this
Cheers.
is.
Oh, I still got yours.
You want to tell everybody also about your water? I'm really fascinated by your water.
Ah, yes, the water. Well, we do use water that has been reverse osmosified
Yeah.
because there is lore suggesting that the Gen SCOBY may be sensitive to chloramine, which is a chemical in our water. It doesn't off gas like it used to. It used to just be chlorine in the water, and it would off gas. You could leave it out, and the chlorine would come out. But now it's chloramine, and it's not meant to come out. It's meant to stay in the water, so that if the water is exposed to something in the pipes in the city, it will like still be healthy and safe. I guess that's the reason. Anyway, there is lore suggesting that the Gen SCOBY would react badly to that chemical, so that's why we use the filtered water. And we used to use a really complicated system with a sole, which is a supersaturated solution of salt in water. And we had used Himalayan crystal salt, that pink stuff at the time.
Yeah.
And there was a large crystal in the vessel in which we kept this special water, and we would take one drop of it and we would remineralize our scobies, our water for our scobies.
With that.
Of course, it's being purified with every batch. We used to do that, and subsequently, I had difficulty with that specific setup. There was something in the vibes, shall I say,
Sure.
that was off, and so now our procedure is that we occasionally remineralize. We no longer have that crystal. That particular crystal has been returned to the earth in a secret place in the woods by my dear friend Richard Hartley. And yeah, like whatever that was about is now gone. And so now we remineralize our scobies in a more regular way.
Interesting. Okay, no, that's like I actually was fascinated by the crystal process and the salt. But it's interesting to know that was something that you did do at one time, but you're not doing anymore, and you're going, but you're still valuing that sort of contribution of minerals to the SCOBY.
Yes, and it is still really special water because we do. I mean, I don't know who's listening here, but just don't judge me when I say this.
Okay.
We love our water. We send it intentions of beauty and health and well-being. We pray to our water. We bless it. We just do all kinds of crazy hippie stuff.
That's awesome.
Water.
That's I love that. I think that is such a rad thing that you do. I think that is the unity element of the Unity Gin. So
I think it's rad too, and I do sometimes get really self-conscious when I talk about it to people, though, because I don't know where other people are coming from, and I remember being in a place in my life where if I heard of people doing stuff like that, I would have just been like, oh my goodness, those people are just off their nut, you know.
But isn't it great?
Wow.
Isn't it great though to be off your nut? Because I'm off my nut, and that's okay.
Oh yeah.
I can't relate to being like to not thinking that's awesome.
Yeah, I know.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't relate to the state of mind I was in at that time either anymore.
Well, you know, I used to work at
That's a powerful thing.
I used to work at a pyramid winery in the Okanagan called Summer Hill. And I remember that the owner was really interested in sacred geometry, but one wine that he had made was each time it was produced, he had a shaman bless the wine, and that's pretty cool, you know. So
wow.
Yeah, I thought, and it was even like talked about on the bottle. It was like this really cool. Like I think he had a fairy on the bottle drawn by like an artist that's like famous for drawing fairies. I can't remember the guy's name, but he has a lot of books on fairies, and the owner of the winery got that artist to do like fairy portraits that he could put on the bottle, and then it was blessed by a shaman, and it was aged in a pyramid. Like that's pretty rad. I don't know. I think that's cool.
That is pretty rad.
Yeah.
I went on a date once in that pyramid.
Really? That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're into sacred geometry too. We've got this flower of life on it's part of our logo here.
Nice.
Of course, the pattern's been modified to put the hexagons in to refer to the honey. and the
Oh,
bees.
yeah, that's cool.
Oh, cool.
You can see at the very center, it's that shape from the flower of life, and that's a shape
Yeah.
that's been found in on all continents
Wow,
from ancient times.
that's cool.
And that's the thing with a lot of sacred geometry, is it's part of our human heritage that we don't need to assign to one group or another. It's everyone's
Interesting.
heritage, and I think that's really interesting about it.
Yeah, that is really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Just like fermentation
Part
is
of
a
part of our heritage for sure.
comes to us from ancient times, and it's a real gift that comes from the ancestors of people who are alive today, and I really like to appreciate that and to just feel thankful.
Yeah, it feels like to be a part of that we're part of a really ancient process. Hey, like this is the
Yeah.
way. Like this predates refrigeration, and so it's a way on a very practical level to store things. You know, fermentation is going to help things stay safe for consumption, even after perhaps they would, like, if you hadn't fermented them, they wouldn't be okay to eat or drink, right? So it's
Yeah.
you know, milk turning into cheese and yogurt.
Yeah.
Your ferments here for kombucha. I'm so interested in kefir water and kefir, and in natto and miso, and you know, like this the world of fermentation is so vast and so interesting and so ancient. It's really a blessing to be able to participate in it. Is it not?
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that there's a renewed interest in fermentation, especially in this part of the world where it seems a lot of fermentation traditions kind of almost disappeared for a little while. Like people, didn't bring them with them from the old world when they settled here, and they may have had a hand in destroying indigenous fermentation traditions, or at least setting them back. I'm not knowledgeable about any indigenous fermentation traditions from this land, but that's something I'd really like to learn about.
Yeah.
But yeah, it really seems like fermentation, the whole bacteria hysteria from like 100 years ago, or whenever that was, it seems like that put a lot of these practices
On
at risk,
hold. Yeah.
because people wanted the mass produced factory version. They didn't want the old homemade thing.
Because they were worried about getting poisoned and stuff.
Yeah.
A fascinating local fermentation by the Kwakwaka'wakw is ulican grease, where they put this kind of lamp fish, this really oily fish, ulican fish, into you could light them on fire. They had so much oil in them, and you put them into like a rock, like on the side of the beach, basically you'd find like a perfect bowl that exists in the rocks near the ocean, and then you'd just like stuff it with ulican, and you'd like stir it and make a ferment, and you would create this really stinky ferment, and it was a condiment that you would put on meat or put on your in your stew, or like just lots of different ways of using it. And it was actually a major trading item of the Kwakwaka'wakw all the way into the interior.
Wow, I didn't know that
Wow.
grease was a ferment. Like, because people eat that now. I mean, a lot of people eat that now. I've definitely been exposed to that. I didn't know it was fermented. That's so cool.
I don't want to be like saying that it's 100% only Kwakwaka'wakw, but it was a Kwakwaka'wakw friend of mine or Kwagyul friend of mine that introduced me to the.
Okay, so that would be like north of here, right?
That's up in Port Hardy, yeah.
Yeah.
Northernmost tip of
Cool.
Vancouver Island. Yeah, there's lots of really. I think that's a fascinating one that we learned about in UVic when I was doing Indigenous studies. It was really interesting, and I think that there's just so many. Yeah, all over the world, there's just such interesting and fascinating different fermentations.
Yeah, I noticed that. I wanted to say, sorry, the turmeric, I feel like I just took a yoga class after drinking that glass.
Nice.
It's really good. I love the turmeric kick to it.
There's
I like it.
I feel like I'm tasting salt in a good way, but there's no salt in the ingredients. It's so interesting.
No, actually, that's funny, because we do remineralize the water, but we don't list salt because it seems like it should be in the water anyway. Oh my gosh, maybe I made a mistake and I was supposed to actually list that.
I don't know. I don't think so. That's. I mean, how much? I guess it depends, right? How much you put in, but yeah,
It's not enough salt to be listed on the nutrition information.
I believe it. Yeah, no, I love it though. I love it. And
Yeah.
also the lemongrass. Okay, ginger. That cardamom comes through nicely, but the ginger and the turmeric are really like, hello, I'm here kind
Yeah.
of level in a good way. You know, like it's really awesome.
Circulating.
Mm.
Circulating.
We're going to be bringing back our chai silly yum flavor for the winter now.
Excellent.
That's the one with the medicinal mushrooms, chaga and reishi, plus all those warming spices that you would usually find in a good chai, in a good cup of chai.
Well, I'm interested. Drop some off. You know, I love sharing ferments with you. So, you know, we're on a hojicha right now, but you have a bottle there that I wasn't able to find for Sharianne and myself, but I want you to enjoy it. Maybe you can. Maybe I can, you know, I can go and try and dig it out, and then we can drink this bottle, and I think it's good. I'll try and find it. Sharianne, if you want to come grab a glass, and maybe you can open it and tell the audience what you think of it. Cierra,
Okay, I'm really excited to open this because, okay, it's not 4 years old, thank goodness, but it is from a tea plant that is 144 years old. I think that's what Jared told me this morning. So he'll correct me on that when he gets back, I'm sure. Okay, well, I'm just gonna open it and have some right now. Oh my gosh! Wow, that was quite explosive, and none of it got on my computer, so all good there. But wow. Oh, Jared. Did you know that was going to happen? Is that why I was the only one who got this jar? I can't even drink it now because it's like empty. Oh no, there's a little bit in the bottom. I don't think he tested his sugar content for this batch.
Yo, I'm back. Okay.
Hey, could people see me while that whole thing happened?
Oh yeah. Did you just like open it up and it spilled everywhere?
I opened it and it exploded all over the place.
Oh no!
I have half a spoon of it left in the bottom.
Sorry.
Right
Better
after
be careful over here.
144 years old.
Yeah, mine didn't do that at all. I'm so sorry. It's really funny. Oh,
Did it spill everywhere?
Yeah.
And she's the only one. She's like, here you go, audience.
Yeah, so you had a foaming experience, but you were solo. That's. Are we still there? Did I lose you, Cierra? I think I did. Oh no. Oh, that's funny and sad. I'm sorry, Cierra. Sierra's gonna come back as soon as she reconnects to the link that I sent her. Let's see. Let me see, Cierra. Oh, there she is. I think. No, that's Sharianne. Okay, Sharianne, we have lost Cierra. Are you there, Sharianne? Hello. Oh, Cierra's back. Okay.
Hi.
Hi, Cierra.
Can you hear me and see me now?
I can hear you and see you now. Can you move your camera sideways so that we can have the wide view of you?
Does that work?
That's
okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, my computer just shut off. Unrelated to the explosion, it actually didn't get any.
Okay,
it didn't get anything on it.
I was like, I hope we didn't do that to her just now. Sharianne, did I give you any of this kombucha when you came in? I was so distracted.
Yeah, I got some right here.
Okay, great. Okay, good. Just like, okay, so another interesting thing about
Whoa, what is this?
That's a 144-year-old Phoenix Mountain oolong.
Oh my
Or
god.
at least the tea plant is. The tea itself has been produced more recently. It's a 2019. And then you can see that liquid color is very different from the hojicha. So.
Yeah, it's a little bit more carbonated too.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, mine is...
What did I give you? What batch? What was the bottling date on the one I gave you there, Cierra?
Oh man, if I can find the cap, which just like flew up. Okay, no, I found it. It just says
It should be on the
number 113. Oh, 719.
Okay, that's we normally they're good
from last year.
7/19. That would have been like July 19th, and so it's supposed to not do that until October 19th. No, November 19th. So if you were a customer, I'd have to give you a new bottle.
That is so funny, man. That just really woke me up. Wow, it really woke me up. I haven't had an explode John in a long time.
Sorry about that.
Explosion.
I love how we did that live. That's so hilarious. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
What does it taste like?
Good. I
Is
deserved it.
it good flavor? Are we enjoying it?
It's really good. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. I don't know if it's appropriate to say I like the hojicha one even more than I like this one. But I'm enjoying this one. It's really good.
Okay. If it was that foamy, then it's probably pretty dry, because the sugars convert into carbon dioxide. So it might not be.
Yeah, it's pretty dry.
I might have actually given you one on the cap. Can you look on the cap?
Yeah.
Does it have an O or an I next to the digits?
It's it says BXO on it.
Oh, okay. So those are, I gave you a tester by accident. That was actually I'm so sorry. That was sitting outside for 3 months.
Oh my god.
I'm like, that's not supposed to happen. Well, yeah, it will if you leave it out of the fridge for 3 months. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
What a day. What a day. Well, Sherry, the one you're drinking is the same batch, but it was kept in the fridge since it was bottled.
It's delicious. I'm a huge fan of green tea kombucha. I love all your kombucha. And I love also Cierra, your kombucha is phenomenal. And I think that I have a special connection also with the hojicha because it's a little bit more like a green tea.
It is a green tea. Yeah.
And yeah, it is a green tea. So is this one oolong, right?
This is an oolong, yeah.
And I still love it. I just have this kind of connection with the green tea kombuchas.
Well, I love the carbonation of this. Like, that's such a nice.
Yeah, I know. It's like I can't really. Everyone gives me a different feeling that's very positive. So
well, that's nice to hear. I personally, I'm such a fan of the Bashan. And I was the opposite of you guys. It was hard for me to wrap my head around the hojicha, honestly. And
yeah, I could see that because it's different, but I still love it.
The reason for that was just there was less of a. It just seemed to be such a slower development of everything. Like, I wasn't getting any carbon dioxide. It was so raw for so long. But now it's at a really good moment. I think that it's in a good place now. So the bottles that I gave to Cierra and to you, I believe, are pretty good. They're going to get better. Like, if we had them in like a month from now, they'd be even nicer, right? And that's kind of the joy of working with a raw product, right?
Yeah, they're definitely
Are you
less.
gonna have any left a month from now?
The stuff. Well, I often go to supermarkets that carry my stuff, and I'll just buy bottles from them because I like to taste it when it's kind of been conditioned in a completely different environment and taste them.
I gotta admit, I have been buying as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you get it from me for free. That's awesome.
Well, no, I still buy it from you too.
I know you buy it from me too. I'm like, here, take this. She's like, I'll take it, but you must let me buy another.
Yeah.
Okay, Sherry Ann. No, that's awesome. Would you? So I'm tasting in this one. I can taste a little bit more of the honey. I think this is a more difficult conversation to have with Cierra though, because we're drinking different bottles now. So
I'm tasting a little bit of prune, like in the great way.
Okay. Yeah.
A tiny bit of prune. Yeah, like prune. I love prunes, but some people don't like.
It's a little bit pruny.
Yeah.
It's good. That's good. I like it. Cierra, is yours kind of smelly? Because that can happen when the yeast kind of gets a little bit aggressive and it's been kept out of the fridge for 3 months.
Considering, like, knowing now that it's been out of the fridge for 3 months, I'm really impressed.
Okay, awesome.
That like portion of the bottle that was still intact was really good for 3 months out of the fridge.
Cool.
That really was.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I definitely tasted as sort of a. When there's like the yeast keeps growing and then it starts to die. It was like a little bit of that flavor.
Okay.
But I could still taste the, and just so that people listening to this aren't worried, like if you buy Jared's kombucha at the store, it hasn't been sitting out for 3 months. That's not the way this guy operates. It wasn't like that. It's more like I showed up in a rush to him this morning and made him give me this bottle, and he was like,
you're doing me a favor by coming on this show last minute. It's very sweet.
I do taste the prune though. I do taste that prune.
Yeah,
and it
or
almost
perhaps
is more like
oh, sorry.
near, like when you're eating a prune, like near the skin, like not the skin, but
Yeah.
like near the skin.
Yeah, it's like the sweetness, but on the surface of the fruit, rather than the sweetness
Yeah.
on the core of the fruit. Yeah, I get
And
that.
because yours is so much drier, it's probably a lot more like a dried plum.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
I'm just kidding. Isn't that the same thing? A prune? I'm just.
Well, okay, it's actually not the same thing.
Oh, is it not? I'm so
No, it's
excited.
not.
Tell me more.
There's actually such thing as like a dried plum. It's like a dehydrated plum, and it's
Yes,
have you had those? You know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about, and they're not quite like prunes in the store. Like,
Oh, prunes are soft,
yeah,
and the other things are not soft.
I'm gonna
yeah.
I'm gonna step back from this conversation because I don't know either way. So you guys tell the world who's watching. Anyway.
Well, I think it's like dried plum and prune.
Okay.
Yeah, prune
Okay.
and dried plum, exactly.
Very cool. Okay.
For some reason, plum sounds a little bit more appealing. For some reason,
Yeah,
I don't know
prune.
why
I-
prunes got kind of a weird name.
I'm into prunes. I put it on tasting notes for my teas sometimes. I think it's all about
Okay.
how we empower words.
I like prunes. I like them a lot, and I
Prunes are
like
great.
plums.
Yeah, hippies are great. Prunes are great. Being weird is awesome.
Uh,
All of the above.
I gotta say one thing about. Can I say one thing about plums? Sorry, I don't mean to
No,
interrupt.
let's talk about plums.
Um,
Yeah. All right.
A good friend of mine was saying how underrated plums are. Like if he was like, if you're stuck on an island and you only had like 5 fruits that you could live off of, he's like, I might consider plum.
Plums is,
Actually, it's
plums is
Steve,
up there. Yeah.
your bandmate.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. So it's up there in like the top.
Top
10.
5,
You know,
like fresh off the tree. Oh my gosh.
We made
Sorry,
a
here on the island.
we made a kombucha at home with the understanding that we didn't need tea to make good tasting ferments. We used our gin SCOBY, so I guess I could say it's a plum gin. And we had some plums given to us by our neighbor. And I looked up online how much residual sugars are in a plum. And then I calculated that against the amount of honey we normally put into our ferments, and I mathematically removed that from the total sugar that we put in because I knew that plums have a lot of sugar in them. And then we put the whole plums in. We didn't peel them because we learned from Katz. What's that guy's name? Something Katz. Art of Fermentation. Come on, help me out here. He has a really cool first name.
Yes.
Sandor Katz? Is that?
Sandor Katz. That's right.
Okay.
You got it.
Yeah. So he
Katz.
the ears, the logo, where it's all over. He talks about fermentation where you don't cut up the fruit, where you just you ferment with the intact fruit. And what's interesting is after the ferment's done, when you remove the fruit, there's no flavor left in the fruit. It's contributed its essence to the fermentation liquid by just leaving it in the liquid, which I find fascinating. And so I did that with plums, and then we just it's nothing you can really continuously do because they bubble up to the surface because of the carbon dioxide, and they kind of intermingle with the SCOBY, and then it's an unusable SCOBY. But it's a really interesting thing to do sometimes with some fruit. So calculate against your sugar recipe the residual sugars that are on average left in each unit of fruit, and then put that in, and then we kind of replaced the tea with the fruit, and then we did a 7-day ferment, and when we were done, it was just awesome. It was so good. We did these good.
Wow.
They were very volatile. They didn't hold up to long-term storage, but man, really, really good. So.
Ooh, that sounds really awesome.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try that with my gin.
That's my plum
Yeah.
story. You need to do it. Okay,
Yeah.
so we're kind of coming up at the hour here. I wanted to say our goodbyes. It's been really, really awesome having both of you on. Cierra, loads of fun. I knew it would be. I'm really glad that you came on.
Yes, thanks, Jared.
But I thought if you wanted to say your final notes on what we've been drinking and maybe a message to people watching before we
Yeah, sure. Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, again, thanks for having me. And if you're near Victoria, BC, you can find our gin at different places around town. Definitely follow us on Instagram and check out our website. You can order this gin for home delivery. We deliver all over the whole Victoria area, even out to Langford and the Saanich Peninsula. So
Nice.
Go ahead and put in your order, and we'll bring you some delicious gin to help you feel great and get through the winter.
Amazing, yes, and there's an alliance at work. We're very happy to have We kind of, was it the Cosmic Juice Alliance that we're trying to
Cosmic
build?
Juice Alliance. That's right.
Working on it.
We need
It's
like
kind
a hand signal.
I
We
know.
need a hand
Yeah,
signal.
part
to
of
the like
the
cosmic.
Cosmic Juice Alliance. Yeah, can we
I
do
don't
that?
know what it would look like, but
What about that? How's that? That could work. Yeah, okay, I'm into
I
it.
can't really see what you're doing.
It's like
Oh, like that?
Yeah. That's
Okay,
how
Cosmic
we
Juice
could
Alliance.
awkwardly wave
Yeah.
to people like this. Okay, amazing. Okay, Sherry Ann, if you had something you wanted to say in parting here.
I think I might have seen it at Market on Yates. Is it at Market on Yates?
No, it's at Lifestyles on Douglas. Maybe you're
Lifestyles,
thinking
maybe
of
that's what it
Lifestyles,
was.
Yeah, it's in the cooler at the front near the deli at Lifestyles.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much. I have been really enjoying drinking kombucha all day. This has been phenomenal.
It's been really fun.
And yeah,
And
I don't.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I don't know what I'm supposed to say. I love doing this. Thanks so much. It was so nice to meet you, Cierra. And like, I love what you're doing with your kombucha. Like, Jared, I love what you're doing with your kombucha. I don't even know what to say. Like, I don't get to drink
You
this
don't have
tasty.
to say anything. You just do that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I have to. Sorry, I have to change the angle.
that's all you have to say. Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's lovely to hear. And those watching can find Sister Speak on sisterspeakmusic.com, patreon.com/sisterspeak if you want to support the project during these challenging times. There's a Zoom call happening on during the event tomorrow that you can go on the event Facebook page. It's called Outdoor Music Fridays. Look it up on Facebook. It's there'll be if you donate on the event page, we'll send you a Zoom link, and you can watch the show live as it's happening. And it's music outside. We're gonna have Treetop Swing and Sister Speak performing tomorrow. On the 16th, we're gonna have Truth and Dolphin, my band, performing, and Steve Shimilar and Sister Speak. On the 24th, there's actually an event in Nootka Court that's going to be raising money to stop the trophy hunting of wolves in memory of Takaya the wolf that lived on Discovery Island for quite a number of years. And Sister Speak and Truth and Dolphin will be performing then as well. And then on the 23rd, we're going to have Lonnie Glass. He has some really interesting, powerful music based off of the Civil War. And inspired by a novel written about it, I believe. Look him up, lonnieglass.com. And then on the 30th, we have the bilingual indie rock folk awesome fellow Matt Stern. Look him up. And then Sister Speak will also be performing that night. So Sister Speak every Friday and a guest musician. Cierra, I hope you can make it down. It would be lovely to have you for some of that music on. At some point.
Yeah, next week. I'm coming on the 16th. I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent.
Super stoked.
Yay!
Yeah.
Cool. Great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Great to
awesome.
hear.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was great to meet you today, Sherry Ann. First time meeting you,
Nice.
and great to see you again as always,
Awesome.
Jared.
Likewise. Yeah.
So good to meet you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you to you both. That's it for today. I appreciate you coming on, and I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day and enjoy what's left of those bottles.
Great.
Thank you. I already finished all of mine.
Awesome. Okay. Okay, bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Peace, love.
Okay, so that was episode 27 of JagaVision. A little bit later start, so a later end here. Appreciate those of you who've been tuning in the whole time. If this is you watching the archive version of the show, then or even if it's live, if you want to click the subscribe button and join us here every week. We're on at 1 p.m. We have a different guest. Next week we're going to have Cliff from Four Le Pis, a local bakery. He's built his own mill. He's built his own wood fire stove, and he does some fantastic ferments. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about fermentation with him next week in our second episode on fermentation. So huge appreciation for you watching, and we'll see you again hopefully next week. Take care. Bye.